Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here at Tank12. Have you call me, I don't really care. Welcome back to World of Tanks, where I have a little gameplay for you guys in the EBR 75 FL10. Now, I know most of you guys absolutely dislike the French wheel tanks, and definitely with very good reason. These French wheel tanks have been in the game now for almost 3 years. They have been released in February of 2019, and now we're playing at the end of 2021. So yeah, the EBR 75 FL10 is the tier 8 premium version of the wheel tanks, and I think probably one of the most disliked vehicles ever. So we have a match right here in Studzianski, and we are going up against only tier 8 vehicles. So a perfect kind of matchup that you can have with this tank. So let's talk about the problematic of wheel tanks and why they are so disliked in World of Tanks itself. There you have the very first example of why people dislike the wheel tanks. I was just shot by Object 274A, and it's really difficult to hit a wheel tank because of its mobility, its speed, and its ability to very quickly swerve left, right, and center. And he finally managed to hit me. Unfortunately, though, he did not manage to penetrate my tank. What ended up happening is he only damaged my wheel. So one of the main critique points of this kind of class is probably that it's difficult to hit, and when you hit it, there's a high chance or a high probability of you bouncing the wheels, because these wheels are made out of, I don't even know, titanium, super overpowered material that just doesn't break. The second thing is, if you shoot the wheel, instead of like hitting a track, the tank does not slow down, or the tank does not come to a complete standstill, it only slows down a little bit. One of those things obviously annoys a lot of players, because it is a very unfair concept where players are able to still run around even after you hit them with a huge shell that does massive amounts of damage, and you don't do damage, or you do damage at best, and you maybe damage the wheel, but there is no guarantee that you might get this tank to stop. So people are really upset when they have to fight these EBRs, because they take away the focus that you have on different targets, because all of a sudden everyone wants to kill the light tank, because these passive vehicles, these not passive, these active scouts, they come into your line of sight, they drive circles around you, and they spot everything for the enemy team. So if your team does not have any kind of wheeled tanks, they are immediately at a disadvantage. So those are some really big issues, because players obviously will focus these wheeled vehicles, and while doing that, when they do not hit, they waste valuable time getting into position, they waste valuable time shooting you and being on the reload if something else is shooting them, and they waste valuable time when they hit you and they don't make any kind of direct hit with your vehicle, so no real penetration. That's why people absolutely despise these tanks, because obviously every idiot can drive around in a circle, but to really make these tanks extremely effective, you need the right equipment and you need to have a bit of knowledge on how to play these vehicles. But they give you the tools, and these tools are extremely powerful, and they are really annoying, and I totally understand why players are so upset. They also have very good high explosive pen. I think previously in the gameplay you saw me penetrating the the very brand new Caliban for I think 4 times with high explosive shells, dealing every single time about 250 damage, which isn't the craziest amount, but for a 76mm gun, let me just see real fast, 75mm gun, that is quite disgusting if you ask me. So right here we're able to shoot the Skoda T26, the LT432 is over there as well, and we're just trying to help out our team in the north. Now we're playing on the map Studzianski, which is I think a Polish map, if I recall correctly, but don't rip my head off, please. And I chose this gameplay specifically because you could see all of the things that I have described so far happening in the gameplay as well. There are going to be times where I'm going to be extremely lucky to survive, but there's also the element of when you're able to make this tank work really, really well in your favor, how effective this vehicle can be and what a kind of impact it can have on gameplay. So right here you can see that our team here in the factory is completely getting wiped out, and I want to take out the Caliban and I want to take out the Lynx. So first we balance the Caliban, but we do take out the Lynx because he's the only one who's able to chase me down. And he manages to put one into us, but once again we survive another shot from the object 274A. And this guy must be fuming by this point because it's the second time he has a shot on me that did not go through. And the Senlek only hits our turret. He only damages our gun. And this is ridiculous because it doesn't matter to me. I'm just driving on. I'm far enough. And because I have very, very good camouflage, I can just get away. I can switch the mode that I'm driving in, the travel mode. And now I immediately go back to full speed. And that object 274A, if you think about it, he must have, if he would have hit me twice and penned me, I would have been done. Because that would have been, in total, about 600 damage. In total, I think 640. If he had average rolls of 320 per shot, I would have not been on this game, and they would have definitely won this game. Because there are some things that I'm going to be doing that are quite disgusting, if you think about it. Especially from the view of a light tank driver. So right here you can see that the North, as we've mentioned prior, is kind of losing the defensive structure. We've lost quite a few vehicles now, and I'm trying to take on the Senlek. I'm trying to help out as much as I can, because there's a T-28, there's a Renegade, there's a T-44-100, a Caliban, and everyone is up here, and they can really box us in right now, and it's really important for me to get some pressure off the northern flank to allow us to still stay mobile and effective. But it's quite difficult because there's only a WZ-120, but the Senlek, this poor little fella, he doesn't stand a chance. What is he supposed to do against me? I hide behind this house because I know I'm still spotted, and the T-28 is just gonna try to hit me. He's waiting for me to move. He shoots the house in frustration, and once again, this is the third bounce that we have straight from the wheels. The T-44-100 puts the APCR through both of the wheels, doesn't hit the superstructure of the tank, and he doesn't do any damage. So right here we get very lucky once more. So it's not even the skill. Like this has nothing to do with skill. How you utilize the tank obviously is going to have to do with skill, but that you survive shots like that has nothing to do with skill. So yeah. We survive another ordeal. We have kind of, stabilized the North, and we get some reinforcements in here as well. The push has just been stopped, and they are not pushing any further. They're just waiting for something to happen. So once again, with my crazy mobility and the very small maps that we currently have in this game, since the maps are not very big, I am able to get from point A to B in very, very, very quick fashion. Something that all the other tanks cannot do, except for maybe the Burask. But the Burask gets spotted by the T-28. We put one into the T-28 over there, get a bit of a spotting assistance as well. And yeah, you can see that in this bush we're basically invisible to the enemy team. So far, a very interesting match. We haven't pushed any further in the south. They haven't really been able to push any further in the north. And I'm just sitting here reloading and waiting for something to happen. I'm looking at, the map. I'm thinking about the next steps that I want to take. And you can see the WZ-120 made a mistake. He fired, T-28 spotted him because he's only 300 meters away, or 400 meters, and the Renegade or the T-44 finish him off. So this is right now the moment where I'm thinking this is a very close match. We don't have tank destroyers. We literally do not have enough penetration to go through the T-28. But the Skoda T-56 is able to hit him once in the side, doing massive amounts of damage to that T-28. And now I'm thinking, what should I do? How can I assist my team with the mobility that I have, with the view range that I have, with the spotting? how can I have an impact on this game? So I decide to be a bit more aggressive because obviously if you looked at the wheels, I know that it's quite crazy that I'm still alive. It's very weird that I'm still alive. So I'm trying to go to the south and proxy spot these guys, or passive scout them. But the thing is, this tank obviously doesn't have very good view range. I've managed to get it all the way to 400 meters, and somebody spots the charioteer. It wasn't me, I think. And the charioteer now gets under pressure. He comes under pressure. He gets shot by me twice. He loses about 340 HP. And this is where this tank also is very ridiculous, when it is just able to stay behind cover and stay absolutely hidden because it has such great camouflage values. So you can see that the North, the Skoda T56 is pushing in, and I think I'm gonna write something about it because he's just YOLOing into a T28 and a T44-100. He cannot wait. He doesn't have the patience. He takes out the T28, which is quite interesting considering that he has to move all the way to the T28. And I ask myself why he would do that, because that was a very rash decision, a very rash move right there. So now the North is once more very much open to an advance from these heavy tanks. So what I do right now is I notice there's a T-44 over there. What if I use my mobility? I go in here, I kill the Caliban, who doesn't stand a chance because if he tries to shoot me, I just have the mobility. And now I'm in the back of the enemy team. I'm behind their lines. And what can they do? They don't have any choice but to shoot me because they need to find me. I've been spotted by the Caliban, but I haven't been spotted yet, so they know that I'm somewhere back here. There's a very annoying nuisance behind their lines. What are they supposed to do? They have to focus on the front, they have to focus on the rear. Now, with a medium tank that is fast, well, obviously you can still take it out because it's not going to be running 80 kilometers per hour. But with a light tank, such as I, with wheels, you can see what ends up happening. This T-44 right here is trying to go back. I load heat shells because I cannot penetrate the T-44 reliably from the front. And he notices that I'm sitting in this bush. He knows that I'm here because I fired from this direction, but he's unable to really hit me or spot me because this tank has great camouflage values. So I get spotted by the Renegade. The T-44-100 is right here, but he gets engaged by the LTTB. And chaos ensues. I take out the T-44-100. There's the Renegade over here. And I think in just a second, the object 274A, who absolutely had enough of my my adventures in my EBR 75 FL10, is going to show up any second now. And that's why I have to move. So we're trying to take out this Renegade, and because this tank has crazy good mobility, I can just do that. I can get behind him, I can drive up this way. The TNH 100 or TNH 105 1000 is going in. The object 274A just missed me, and I'm able to just drive up this slope, get away from him. He doesn't have a shot on me anymore. And I drive to the Renegade to keep on pestering him with my 75mm gun, which does do quite a bit of damage. Now, unfortunately for me, I drive into the CS52 Liz, or the CS52 Liz drives into me, and I lose another 369 HP. Obviously, to be fair, I should have been dead by this point, because I was hit by several tanks prior, and I kept bouncing these shots. But right now, I'm giving my medicine back to the object 2748. So this game has turned very quickly, and I somehow managed to do 4,000 damage in only about 14 minutes, 13 minutes. And I haven't really spotted anything. I have obviously looked, I've found the enemies, but I have not gotten any assistance damage. So right now it's all about getting to the vehicles that are still over in the south. And this is where I probably mess up quite big, because I have the mobility. I have to be the one scouting these guys, and I know that they're hiding in the corner over here. But I know that if I get myself too exposed out here, I'm only 62 HP. I only have 62 HP remaining, so I have to be really careful. I spot the Primo Victoria. I hit him twice, but the Charioteer finishes us off. and he destroys us in that moment. So the CS52 Liz and the ELC even 90 have to engage the Primo Victoria and the Charioteer, which is quite interesting because the ELC even 90 just managed to dodge the Charioteer, and the Primo Victoria now moves in to finish him off. And you can see the Charioteer is on his side, but unfortunately, because the timer is about to run out in just a second, we are going to be drawing this game out because we were just too slow to act in the end. It took us too long to finish off the Renegade. It took us too long to finish off the T-44-100. And you can see that even with enough speed, the clock is still going to be against you. But it shows you, this gameplay just really showed you how ridiculous this tank is. It's ridiculous that wheeled tanks can be this resilient in the game. And I think this is one of the biggest issues. If you can reduce the resilience of the wheeled tanks, they're still going to be good. Maybe they won't be as good as they are now. Definitely they won't be as good as they are now. But they will be balanced in a way that you can finally sleep well at night, knowing that your shot has a much higher possibility of penetrating those wheels and going through to the chassis of the vehicle. Because it's ridiculous that a light tank survives more shots than some kind of heavy tank that has armor but is very flat and very easy to penetrate, and this tank just has wheels that absorb everything. And I think this is one of the main issues that we have with wheeled tanks. That is why so many people are absolutely disgusted by them. They are so annoyed by wheeled tanks, and the lack of change coming from Wargaming, that they have actually nerfed them once. They nerfed them once, but it was by no means enough. It just shows you that they don't care. They literally put them in the game. They notice that, oh my god, the people hate them, but they don't adjust them immediately. Why don't you just go back and look at it and see that, yeah, these tanks have, statistically speaking, such great bouncing abilities. Why should we allow it to stay like that on a wheeled tank that is supposed to have no armor? I mean, in real life, if you fire at a wheel with a high caliber gun, I don't think that it's going to survive a 128mm shell. It shouldn't. And that is certainly one of the biggest issues that we have with the wheeled tanks currently. It's their survivability. Their survivability is making us have so many problems, and it's annoying the players on a level that is really, really bad. So yeah, that is what I wanted to talk about. That is why I want to show a EBR-75 FL10 gameplay. I don't really play this tank often. I don't play the wheeled tanks very often. I do pick them out for front lines because it's always nice to have the mobility. But with these kind of small maps, having this ability to run around, you are the most annoying piece of shit out there. And that's just the way that people view these tanks. They view them as annoying and game breaking because it just doesn't feel right that something this fast is in the game where everything else is by far slower and never as fast as wheeled tanks.